Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll masech this Menachot daf Sadi Beis. We're going to begin on Sadi Beis Amud Aleph, the third line from the top. So the Mishnah begins that Kol Karbonos Hatzibor Ein Behem Smicha. The general rule is the smicha when we put our hands and put all of our body weight onto the animal right before the shechita. That's typically only for a carbon yachid, but not for a carbon sibor. And this is what this Mishnah says, that when it comes to a carbon sibor, we don't do smicha. Chutz min a par habal kol mitzvahs, v'sir hamishtalech. It's only 2 times, and according to this opinion, the 2 times are when it comes to a par that is brought al kol mitzvahs, namely in a situation where a person has an erroneous psak and they end up violating a mitzvah, so that the sibur brings a par, and the sir hamishtalech on Yom Kippur, the scapegoat. So that even though it's a carbon sibur, because echel Hashem, echel Azazel, smicha is still done there. Rabbi Shimon Aimer Avsir Avodas Kachavim says the word also, which sounds like there's a third, but really maybe it's excluding another one. So when it comes to the goat of a person who is Ovid Avodas Zara, so they have to bring a sire. So then in that case, if we're talking about the tzibor, so then that situation, they have to do smicha there for this carbon sibor. Question 3. Let's go. Question 13 rather. Elu karbonos sibor yesh behen smicha. So, one opinion is par habal kol mitzvahs and sir mishtalech, or it's definitely a par habal kol mitzvahs. Everyone holds that, but instead of sir mishtalech, it's the sir avodas kachavim. So, af is not going to add a third, right? That's an important detail. That's the din. Okay, let's finish up this Mishnah. Now, kol karbonos hayachid tu'unin smicha. When it comes to an individual who brings a carbon, they always do need to do smicha. Chutz min bechor b'pesach meiser. So when it comes to the dinim of these kadashim kalam, like a bechor, meiser behema, and the carbon pesach, there is no smicha. There's no smicha on a carbon pesach. V'hayarish saimich umei v'nesachim umeimar. So this is seemingly a totally different topic, but it says that let's say a person inherits the carbon of his father after his father dies, so the din is that you can still do smicha, and you have to bring the nesachim, whatever your father was mechuyev to have to bring, together with the zevach, you also have to. Umeimar, says Rashi, shiachol lahamir b'carbon aviv ka'aviv. So just like there's whatever the dinim of tamur are, that if you move the sanctity from one animal to another, that animal actually becomes kadosh, but also doesn't lose the kedusha. The same thing when it comes to the son. After the father died, he has all these same laws. Okay, so let's see the Gemara on that. So again, we have the notion of typically a carbon yachid requires smicha, not a carbon sibor, but there's 2 exceptions. Tanaban. Kol karbonos hatzibor ein behen smicha chutz mepar ba'kol mitzvos v'sir avodas kachavim divi Rav Shimon. So we see clearly when Rav Shimon says af sir avodas kachavim, it's only talking about those 2, and he does not mention sir hamishtalech. Okay, Rabbi Huda Omer sir avodas kachavim. Well, no, when it comes to the sire for a person who's over avodas zara, the ein behen smicha. V'es mi avi tachteim. So what do you put instead? Sir mishtalech, which again is what the Tanakh of our Mishnah said. Okay, so why is that? It says Rashi, v'zeh sir hamishtalech aharon uvan of saimchen bai v'lo ba'ilim v'lo yahavi smicha. Okay, so lo sagi deloi mile. So maybe it's only 1 time. So Ravina, so how do we know it's 2 times that? How do we? It's got to be this one, or it's got to be that. Maybe it's only talking about par kol mitzvahs. No, we have a tradition. Gemiri shtei smichas b'tzibur. That's a tradition, and the machlokas what that means. What are the 2 smichas? Okay, Amar Rav Shimon. We brought this down, by the way, and we didn't bring down both shitas. Amar Rav Shimon. So Rav Shimon, who said that the 2 are par kol mitzvahs, as well as the sir avodas kachavim, he'll say v'lo ein smicha el b'baylim. Understand? Smicha is only by an individual. V'zeh arnu vanav saimchen bay. So how is it possible that you could say that according to him, that that Aaron and his children, that it's a carbon, not just for one person. It's not a Baal. We have multiple people over here. So it just means that they will both receive kapara, says Rashi. Im hatzibur v'smicha b'balami. We still hold smicha is by the Baal, but it just means that they all receive kapara. That's it. So Rabbi Yirmiyah v'ozul tamayu. They both go according to the reason. This time, the chiper is mikdash hakodesh. So a person is mechaper mikdash kodesh. So he says zil of nim. That's referring to in the Kodesh Kedoshim. Yes, O Moed, so Zehechel, as we know. So Mizbeach is Kamash Ma'ai, as it says. Yechaper El Hazaris. Kohanim is Kamash Ma'an, right? It's clear as the Pasuk. Al Koil Imakahal, El Yisrael. Yechaper, so they will receive Kapara, El Halavim. So it's talking about the Levim will receive Kapara. So Hushu Kuan L'Kapara Achas. It says that they all receive Kapara, Shemischapin B'Ser Mishtaleach, Dir Rabbi Yehuda. We see that the Sir Mishtalech is mischaper for everyone. Shimon Omer Kashem Shidam Sa'ir Hanas Bifnim Mechaper Al Yisrael Tumas Mikdash V'Gadasho. So, and as we saw in the beginning of the previous Masechta, that there's Tumas Mikdash V'Gadasho if a person walks into the base of Mikdash Tameh or eats something Tameh, right? So there's a chi of carbon, right? Whether hell. If you have to have Yediyah B'tchila of a Soif, as it's brought over there. There's different kaparas for Yediyah B'tchila of a Soif and vice versa. So just like when it comes to Sir, which is brought inside, so Mechapa Yisrael al Tumas Mikdash Chadashav, Kach Dam Hapar, so too the Dam of the Par is Mechaper al Naviyim. Now al Kohanim al Tumas Mikdash Chadashav. Furthermore, just like the Sir HaMishtalech, when the Kohen Gadol makes vidoy on it on Yom Kippur, Mechaper al Yisrael, B'shar Veris, Kach Vidoy Shel Par, so too when it comes to vidoy of the Par, not just the Sar, but also the Par, Mechaper al Kohanim, B'shar Veris. Rav Shimon Havade Hushvu, so in Hushvu, yeah, they are the same. However, the B'nei Kaparnehu, they both achieve Kapara. Miu Kol Chad V'chad, Mechaper B'navshayu. However, each one is mechaper for its own thing. It's mechaper for its own source. So Rabbi Yehuda, Tumas Mikdash Chadashav, when it comes to that, it's Yisrael mechapri. But Dam Ser Hanas Mifnim, V'Kohanim Mifnim, V'Kohanim B'Par Shel Aharon, B'Shar Avedis El V'Il mechapri B'Vidi Sir HaMishtalech. So each one has their own niche, in which how they will be able to receive kapara. Rav Shimon b'shar veris nabi. When it comes to other veris nabi kohanim b'vidui the par mischapri. So kedetani echad Yisrael v'echad kohanim v'echad kohen Mashiach. So we can complete them all and compare them all. So ma ben Yisrael kohanim and kohen Mashiach. So what's the difference? El shedam hapar mechaper al kohanim. Tumas Mikdash Kedasha, that the dam of the par will be mechaper for the kohanim, for Tumas Mikdash Kedasha. Zudir Rabbi Yehuda, Shimon Omer Kashem Shedam Asar Hanasim B'Fnei Mechaper al Yisrael, Kach Dam HaPar, just like the dam of the Sa'ir, inside is mechaper. So Kach Dam HaPar Mechaper al HaKohanim. So too the dam HaPar will be mechaper for the kohanim. Hashem Shevidu Shel Sa'ir Mishtalech Mechaper al Yisrael. So the vidu is of the Sa'ir is mechaper al Yisrael. So Kach Vidu Shel Par mechaper al Kohanim. So each one, some are mechaper for Yisrael, some are mechaper for the Kohanim. Tanabon. But some zikne Eda Sidehem or Rosh Par. So the zikne Eda will put their hands on the head of the par. So we see clearly par ton smicha. Only if it's a par do you need to do smicha. So he says it can't be talking about the Sira Avodas Chachamim because the diuk is only by par helam davar called only when it comes to the par habal called mitzvahs, only there because it's a par. For whatever reason, Dafka will make this diuk, it's only a behem which is a par, then you'll be able to have smicha done. as the pasuk clearly says. But that doesn't include the sir hamishtalech. The sir mishtaleach does not include this. Well, there's two. There's a sir mishtaleach and the sir b'das chachavim. So he says, therefore, a sir b'das chachavim does not require. Okay. Rav Shimon Omer par toin smicha b'zakenim. Actually, how it works is like this. When it comes to the par, it needs to do smicha. The zakenim do it. Okay, it means that when it comes to serum, so seir b'das chachavim, it just means that the Sanhedrin, the zakenim, don't do it. El Aharon himself will do it. That's what it means. Minhu hachai. The pasuk says hachai. Hachai toin b'smicha. Ha'smicha. Ve'in serum b'das chachavim toin b'smicha. Dear Rabbi Yehuda. So it's another reason. The fact is that it's only talking about hachai needs smicha, not the sira b'das chachavim. Okay. Rav Shimon Omer chai toin smicha ba'aharon. It just means like this, that when it comes to the par kol mitzvahs, so then Aharon will do the smicha. However, as we continue to study Beis Amud Beis, ve'ein sira b'das chachavim tunin smicha ba'aron el b'zakenim. Right. So again, it doesn't mean that smicha is not done, but it's just done by the zakenim. Okay. Fine. So Amar Rav Sheshis v'tizbra. Does this make sense? The hach kamaisa misratzahi. You think this is actually a good answer? Amar Rav Shimon smicha b'balam b'inon. Right. So everyone holds it needs. So we say everyone holds it needs to be done. You have to do the smicha, but it can't be that Aaron, since he didn't sin, it was the Zakenim, the Sanhedrin that sinned. They are the Baalim, right? So therefore, that's the reason why smicha b'balam b'inan, which is why the Zakenim, who are the ones that made this erroneous psak, are the ones that need to bring. So when it says v'kash Rav Shimon or Rav Shimon the Hasa Maimer ba'Aaron v'Hacha Maimer b'Zakenim. So we'll say because it has to be when it comes to Sira b'das chachavim, so that's the Zakenim and not the Kohanim. So therefore, that's why the Zakenim are the ones who have to do the smicha. El Taratachi Hapar Partoin smicha ve'in Sira b'das chachavim tunin smicha de Rabbi Yehuda. Shimon Omer hachai chai toin smicha ba'Aaron. Ve'ein sira b'das chachavim tunin smicha ba'Aaron. El b'zakenim. V'hachi kaimer le Rav Shimon Rabbi Yehuda. Sira b'das chachavim boy smicha. So when it comes to sira b'das chachavim, do smicha. Yishami lach the luba smicha. You want to tell me they don't need to do smicha? It just means ba'Aaron who dishmi lach, right? That Aaron doesn't do it. Umiyuta machaihu. So therefore, yeah, you're right. Okay, Aaron doesn't do the smicha, but that doesn't mean smicha is not done. It just means that smicha is going to be done by the zakenim. Rabbi Yehuda lamuli limit into atinhu mikra. Why do you have to make a miyut? After all, b'ha'imar ravina gemirish de smichas b'tzibor. So girsa ba'alma says Rashi. Kloimer v'adai lo tzarech lemiyutenu tfei mikra. You don't need to really make a miyut. El hachi hadar u'ma'tinu mishum girsa ba'alma. Just like for learning it. Shnei ragil shtei smichas b'tzibor. So it should be clear. There's only two. V'sulo v'krai smachta b'alma. So you can actually. The truth is, it's a lach Moshe Sinai that there's only two smichas or a carbon sibor, but nonetheless, we still can learn out from the different drushes to tell us what the two are. Fine, that's the idea. Rav Shimon, Sir b'das chachavim, deboy smicha, menon. How does he know? According to him, that Sir b'das chachavim requires smicha. So nafgalan medasani, v'samich yado al rosh hasayir. You put your hands on the head of the sayir, or al basir nachshain was smicha. Dear Rabbi Yehuda, when it comes to sir nachshain, which is just a nice way of referring to the numerous karbanos that the shvatim brought during the Shiva Shemei Hamiluyim, so it's called that. So during that time, smicha was done. Rav Shimon Omer al basir was smicha. Shari Rav Shimon Omer kol chatas shenichnas dam lefnim. Anytime you brought dam and lifnim, tun smicha. So lam lemir shahaya. So what does that mean? Simana ba'alma. It's just a siman. That's it. The aim aser hanasibif nim dumya desoyer nasi. Why don't we say that we should compare this sire that was brought inside to the sir nasi, the mechaper averos mitzvahs yadua, which is mechaper on averos. So averos. So Arvina to Aimer Gemir Shtei Smichas Basibur Kroy Lamui. Why does he need a pasuk? So Itzrach. So Itzrach Hilchas of Itzrach Kroy. Di Mikra. If you only had a pasuk, Kavamina Zivchi Shamit Sibor Kikasha Amastisen the Hach Pirka the Chol Machois Bois Amrav Shimon Shloish Minim Tunin Sholosh Mitzvahs, that there's 3 minim which require 3 mitzvahs. Leis B'Kavachaymer. Use Zivche Shalmei Tzibor Tunin Smicha. So we said there was the Shalmei Zivche Shalmei Tzibor, which of course does not require Smicha, but there are other requirements. So we said a Kavachaymer over there that even though it's a carbon Tzibor, it should still require Smicha, which we don't. But Smicha B'Kavachaymer. So Ma Shalmei Yachid Shein Tunin Tenufa Chayim. So when it comes to Tunin Smicha. So as we said over there, that by the Shalmi Yachid, so there is no tenufa while it's alive. You only do the tenufa after it's already been shechted. Nonetheless, you require smicha chayim. So therefore, you would maybe think that you should also require smicha for a carbon sibor. So Itzrach. So we know Halachim Sinai to say no, that's not true. Even though you may have this Kavachaymer, but the reality is that you cannot learn out this Kavachaymer in this situation because the din is that a carbon sibur will not. There's no smicha. We wouldn't know which one. Kamash one diminaser nasi. The mechaper averis mitzvahs yadua. Okay. All right. Let's look at a question maybe. Okay, question TA11. Ma din sira baris kachavim in smicha. So what is the din when it comes to sira baris kachavim regarding smicha? So this is pretty clear. First of all, our Mishnah says that when it comes to sira baris kachavim, according to the Shita of Rav Shimon, right? Rav Shimon holds that straight up that even though it's a carbon sibor, you still need to do smicha. That's one opinion. Okay, now. Obviously, the other opinion is that smicha is not done. So, according to one opinion, ein behen smicha, which is the first sheet of our Mishnah, right? Because they only gave part kol mitzvahs and sera mishnaleach. So, which means that they disagree and say that the din of sera mishnaleach does not require smicha, or you could say it does require smicha, according to this other sheet. However, when it says you require smicha, it means tun smicha b'zikanim. Only the zikanim do it. Will be the ones who are mechuyev to bring, but not the kohanim. Right, that's the idea behind that. The ein sira bas chachavim tunin smicha ba'aron el b'zakenim. It's the same thing. It's TA 11. Okay, fine. So again, the answer is either just push it. There is no smicha, or there could be smicha, but the zakanim do it. Okay, TB 14, which is the same question. So just mark this down. TB 14. Let's just find it here. Yesh machlokas im ze echad mishnei karbanos sibor shesmichim smicha im savar sheshchiv smicha. Oz hazakenim srichalasos smicha she'avera hoisa biglalum. They're the ones that did the sin. They're the ones that should have to bring it. Of course, that's the truth. Okay, so that's TB 14. All right. Okay, so let's keep on moving then. All right. So, yeah, it's true. You would have maybe avoided a Kavachaymer from Shalmi Yachid, which of course does require smicha, to Shalmi Tzibur requires smicha, so that's why you have Halachim Mishmasiyin. It says only 2 times, and that's it. Okay, we wouldn't know which the 2 were. That's why we need the Pesukim. Kol Karbonos Yachid Tun Smicha So every carbon yachid requires smicha chutz min b'chor, meiser, pesach. These three. Tanaban. Karbanoi. The pasuk says karbanoi. So why does it say? It's going to actually say 3 times the word karbanoi. So one is karbanov habachor, does not need smicha. Shiach lo dinu. Uma shlamim shein kedushas merechem. It doesn't become kaddish merechem from its womb to in smicha. So shlamim does require smicha. So bachor. So when it comes to bachor shein kedushas merechem, his mom is kaddish right away. And it didn't shedun smicha tamad leimer karbanov habachor. So that's one. Karbano is v'lo meiser. Shiach lo dinu. You would think maybe when it comes to meiser behema, that taka it is necessary that for you to do smicha on a meiser behema. What's the kavachimer? Ma shlamim shein mekadshin lifneim lachareihem. When it comes to a shlamim, there's nothing holy before it or after it. It's only it is kadosh because that's what you declared. Nonetheless, tun smicha. So meiser shekishul afanav lacharav. So when it comes to a betais, if you call number 9, 10, 10, 10, 10, and 11, 10, they're all kadosh. So we see that the ones before and afterwards are kadosh. So eno din shetun smicha. So l'chayir meiser behema shuz. So Talmud Leimer karbano v'lo meiser. So that's why we have pasuk number 1 is to exclude bachor from meiser. Pasuk number 2 is to exclude meiser behema from meiser. Karbano v'lo pesach sholach l'dinu. Ma shlamim sheinu ba'amoid ba'amoid uba tunin smicha. So what does that mean? Says Rashi. Let's find it. V'lo b'chor karbanoid the Tomsky ksivi bin yadu shlamim. Okay. Let's see down here. Karbano shosha karbano b'smicha b'shlomin and b'vikar karbano. Okay. Ma'aser wa'fanav acharav. Again, as it says, we call 9, 10, 10, 11. Okay. Fine. So, what's the kavachimer? When it comes to shlomim, she'enu ba'amoid v'haba tunin smicha. So pesach shu ba'amoid v'haba. Because you must bring this carbon. So enu din she'tunin smicha. Some of the lemer coming to pesach. So therefore, at least in the havamina of what is this coming to pasuk to tell you, in the havamina we thought it's coming to tell us karbonoi and not pesach, and karbono not bechor, and karbono not meiser. Shiach lo dinu. So again, we did that. So Talmud Leimer karbono pesach. So equal mifrach. So we can ask a kash on that. Ma shlamim shechin tunu nesachim tunu v'chaz v'shaik. So maybe the reason why shlamim needs smicha is because it does all these other things. It requires libations to accompany it, waving, and the sacrificial imurim of the chaz v'shaik. Mashenkin, when it comes to these other karbanos, the din isn't true. You don't need that. So you're right. So the truth is, should be a good kasha that maybe shalom. You can't learn out. It's a kavachimer because it's a good pircha. So, but the truth is, kroy smach to be alma, right? The psukim are just an illusion to teach us this. Ella, as we can decide to give them an aleph, kroy lumli. So if that's the case, lamaskana, why do we need these psukim, right? Because obviously, it should be obvious that you don't need smicha. Say, well, yeah, maybe because of shlomim needs smicha, maybe no, but shlomim there's all these other dinim. So why would you even think to exclude those 3 things? Obviously, so you don't need even pasuk to tell us that. So why is the pasuk telling you? So karbanoi v'loy carbon chaveroi. So it's your carbon, right? But not the carbon of your friend, says Rashi. Shein adam soimech al carbon chavero. You do smicha on your own carbon as a baal, but not on your friends. Second of all, carbon of a carbon of a chachavim. That an of a chachavim doesn't work. He's not going to do smicha. And carbon l'rabos kol bali carbon was smicha. The third carbon is to actually be more inclusive, to include all bali carbon for smicha, says Rashi. Mi sheish lo chelik b'carbon, saimech olav. Anyone who has any connection to this carbon, the din is you could do smicha. We'll stop there. Question 14. So again, man nilman megimel pam mishkaz karbanu b'parsha smicha. So the maskana we just saw. One is carbon of a little carbon chavero. You don't do smicha on your friend's carbon, or the carbon of an akum, or the carbon is coming to include kol bali carbon. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, carbon of yarish b'carbon aviv. Okay. Let's see. Maybe another question. Adkan.